Shibhavni, good evening, beta. Send the link in the group and tell everyone to join fast, beta. Shiva, good evening. So last class we were discussing about, we have to start fast. So we were talking about sexual reproduction in flower. In that we have understood some very important point. The first basic point was that unlike how sexual reproduction is taking place in human, flower also has mechanism, but it is different. Mother axis will be there. On that mother axis means flower section will be different, and that in that section we have understood. Just slight recap I am going to take. So this was the mother axis, and in that we came to know that two different, that pedicle section is there. In that pedicle section only that part will be there, thalamus part will be there. This is exactly the thalamus part. And then we understood the four different sections, the four major sections of flower. So can you tell me the four major sections of flower? Type and say the four major section of flower. Come on, quickly start, join. And we are going to finish the flower, because double fertilization is a very important topic in flower. And if you will do that topic very nicely, that work will be over from flower section. We can directly go towards variations, and then heredity section we can start. Fine. So now we have understood that 2-3 most important regions of flower are there. Four are there. So first, the male and the female, that is the male part and the female part, we already know the names of that. I'm not taking the name. I want you to type and send me the name. Good evening everyone. I want you to type and send me the name. What happened? Why this much delay in joining, beta? Why this much delay in joining? Shri Bhavni, send the link in the group, beta, and tell everyone to join first. Say auntie is waiting, beta. So now look here. So we are going to understand calyx is there, that is sepal, petal, and then stamen and carpel is there. Stamen, carpel, sepal, petal, stamen, carpel. Sepal will be that greenish part which was once going to protect, that the flowered buds are protected by the sepal sections. The green part of the flower will be exactly called as sepals, and that is also called as calyx. The other name is petals. Petals, the corolla, the colorful part of the flower which attracts the insects and all, will be exactly called as corolla or petals. Okay. And then the stamen and the carpel. The stamen is exactly the male part of the flower. The stamens are exactly the main part of the scent, auntie. Okay. Why this much delay today, beta? The stamens are the male part of the flower. The stamens are exactly called as the male part of the flower, and they will be exactly anther will be there. and filament will be there, in that pollens will be there, and second is carpel, that is and we have exactly in last class learned Androsium and Gymnosium. So Androsium and Gymnosium section also we have discussed about it. We said that the male part of the flower, another name is Androsium, and that is also called as microporophil, and it is exactly the female part is called as megasporophil. So the carpel or Gymnosium is also called as megasporophil. Fine. So till last class only whatever we have studied, I am just doing a recap of that. Okay. Still waiting for everyone to give response. Great, super. So now last class again we have discussed about unisexual flower or bisexual flower. So I think unisexual, bisexual flower we have discussed beta last class, Shiva. We were discussing about unisexual flower, the flower which have either male part or female part, they will be called as unisexual flower. Some of the unisexual flower is exactly yes, they will either have a male or a female part, they will be called as unisexual flower. I'm just waiting here. We can take the example of papaya, bisexual flower, the flower which is exactly having both a male and female, they will be called as Akshaya, good evening beta, they will be called as bisexual flower. The flower which will be having both male and female na beta, both male and female part in one, they will be called as bisexual flower. Good evening. So last class only the part we have studied, now we are just revising that. Akshay understood. Nandini, good evening beta. So male female part, when a flower will be having beta both stamen and carpel, the both male stamen and carpel will be there in one flower. If both male and female part will be there, then it is called as bisexual flower, means it is capable of doing production on its own. But some flower, when you will be only seeing either male part or in the female part, they will be exactly not called as bisexual flower, they will be called as unisexual flower. Like papaya, papaya is a unisexual flower, only either male part will be there in flower or female part will be there, so it will be exactly called as either anther will be there or another flower only that female ova will be there, that section will be exactly called as bisexual flower. So now unisexual or bisexual, we have already discussed about unisexual or bisexual part. So now we are going to learn about exactly fusion. So fusion already we have understood, but before fusion we have exactly discussed about carpel. The coloring part of the flower will be exactly carpel. This section we have discussed. Male and female filament already. Acha, can you tell me the difference? Papaya has flower, auntie. Yes beta, papaya will have flower. If you will see nicely beta, papaya, watermelon, they are exactly having flower, but beta they will be called as unisexual flower beta, because did you saw the flower of papaya plant? First white color flower will be coming beta, and after that only papaya will be coming. Okay, so papaya and watermelon, they both are exactly unisexual flower. So one male will be there, one flower female will be there, and female part will be there. I'm saying one male, one female. So male part, female part will be there beta. That's why they are exactly called as unisexual. But hibiscus, you might have seen that they have both stamen and carpel. So both male and female reproductive part will be there. So that's why beta they are called as bisexual flower. What name we are giving to them? We are giving a name called as bisexual flower to them. Fine. So now we are going to learn about self-pollination, cross-pollination also we have done. Now beta, what is the difference between self-pollination or cross-pollination? We have done in last class. One more important word. Good evening beta. Good evening V Kavya. Good evening V Kavya. Beta, maths question you have asked na, today maths class is there. Today I kept biology class beta. My health is not so good right now. Again I am having fever. But in fever only I am finishing your syllabus. So like maths construction I will be like class 9th how I have done construction na. Same way construction video I am going to send you beta. Okay. So now what is the difference between self-pollination and cross-pollination? Can anybody write the basic idea about self-pollination and cross-pollination, beta? Come on, quickly give the difference between self-pollination and cross-pollination, beta. After that, double fertilization I am going to start. I am going to talk about the topic called as double fertilization. Before that, beta, just tell me what is the difference between self-pollination and cross-pollination. Self-pollination and cross-pollination, beta. Self-pollination and cross-pollination. From tomorrow school timing they have given full day, na? It's really a very so today are you not in mood to study biology? Should I leave that class? No interest in writing answer, no interest in saying the answers. We studied about self-pollination means कि when same flower, same plant, whatever flowers are there, either in the same flower, if pollination will be done, or same plant, different flowers, pollination will be done, it will be called as self-pollination. It will be called as self-pollination. So in self-pollination, we can see that bisexual flowers will be there, and that bisexual flower or unisexual flower also, male and female part will be separated, but the same plant will be having fertilization, then it will be exactly called as unisexual, what you call that, it will be called as self-pollination. But two different plant of same type will be there, one plant A, another plant B, but they both are exactly same species plant, then it will be exactly called as what? It will be called as cross-pollination. Yani, good evening beta, it will be called as cross-pollination. So we have understood that pollination is exactly of two types, and after that we learned another important point there, that ki cross-pollination is better than self-pollination. Now why cross-pollination is better than self-pollination? Because there is much variations, means two different plants are there, then definitely plant A and plant B have certain different variations there, and then picking the pollen of the another plant in the stamen of the another, that is the carpel of the another plant, carpel of the another part of the flower, means 100% there will be a selection where variations are there. 100% there will be a selection where variations are there. So in that case we are calling it as cross pollination. In that place we are exactly calling it as cross pollination. I hope you might have understood this point. I hope you might have understood this point. This is exactly called as cross-pollination. The external agency may be abiotic, and then who is responsible for doing cross-pollination? Then we know that the agencies like external wind is there, abiotic and biotic components or abiotic or biotic factors are there, beta. They are responsible for cross-pollinations. And now abiotic like wind and water, and biotic like insect, bird, bat, snails. Even we sometimes accidentally touch one part of the flower and then touch the other part of the flower, and by that only one flower touched, then same type another flower we went to pluck the flower, and that accidentally also the pollen will fall into the other one. So that is also one of the type. So self pollination, marriage in relations, less variations, cross pollination, different people, so more variations. Absolutely correct, Akshaya. So in a way, beta, you have told the most important part of life. It is exactly more variations means the baby or the child bond will be exactly more strong. More variations means baby or the child will be bond will be more strong, and more or less another important feature will be adaptability. Adaptability is one of a very important reason for it. So now another important point to be noted here, that one another case called as adaptability is a very important factor. Adaptability means like plant A is there, plant B is there. They both are exactly, just take an example of mango. So they both are exactly mango, and now every summer the mango flowers will be coming. Now one mango flower is one mango fruits are very sweet. Another mango exactly exactly the size is slightly bigger, but they both belongs to same species beta. So when the cross pollination will be done, then 100% whatever seeds will be obtained there, that seeds will exactly give a new mango tree where the size will be slightly bigger and the fruit will be exactly sweeter. So like that, variations can be there, yes, absolutely correct beta, that can be variations will be there. So this is a very important point to be noted. So variation is one of a very important factor. Now fertilization in plant, a very important section in fertilization in plant is double fertilization. Double fertilization is that topic from where questions are coming, but here you have to be very careful in learning the part beta. So what is double fertilization? I am going to start now. So now look here, one by one we are going to understand. In plant, pollination is followed by fertilization. Yes, first pollination will be there. What is pollination? The sticking of the pollen on the stigma of the carpel will be exactly, because carpel contains the carpel part of, or the female part of flower contains stigma, style and ovary. The carpel part is exactly containing stigma, style and ovary. Stigma, style and ovary. So stigma, style and ovary. So the different part of the carpel is stigma, style, ovary. So first beta, the pollen grains coming from the anther will stick to the upper region. So this process of sticking is exactly called as pollination. Now after pollination comes fertilization. We Kavya, last class you were having this doubt now that pollination itself is fertilization. No beta, pollination itself is not fertilization. After pollination, when the pollen will be reaching the female reproductive part, then only fertilization will take place beta. So first we will learn about pollination and then it is exactly coming as fertilization. I hope you might have understood now beta what is the difference between pollination and fertilization. First pollination, then fertilization. So in plant, pollination is followed by fertilization. Pollination is followed by fertilization. So first pollination, after that fertilization. We Kavya understood this part beta? So once the pollen grain is deposited in a suitable stigma, it gives rise to pollen tube which grows chemotrophically through the style, means chemical. So here you have to understand one thing, that once this pollen will be stick to the stigma part of the flower, then there is exactly one chemical, like a chemical part, it will be exactly going, because you have to understand that the flower, the plant will be having some type of what you call, perfect word I can use here is some of the plants are phototrophic, means they show reaction towards sunlight. In the same way, the pollen will be having that chemical content and it will be trying to go towards. So chemotropically means it will be going towards the what you called, by making a pollen tube, it will automatically start its journey towards the egg. It will automatically start its journey towards the egg. Okay, so that is what it is called as chemotropically through the style and reaches the ovary where ovules are located. The pollen tube normally enter the ovule through a small opening called microphyll. So here this pollen tube will be there. You can see this part very nicely beta. So this pollen tube will be there. You see this section. I tried to gather the more informations for you. So here if you can see beta, this pollen grain will be there. Now here this is the stigma part. From this you can see that one mesophyll, that part only one small opening will be there, that is called as microphyll. From here only this pollen tube formation will start, and here you can see not one sperm but you can see two different sperms are present there. Not one but two different sperms are present there, and it started its journey. Okay, it started its journey. So you have to just see there that one part is exactly starting. So this pollen tube will be forming inside. Pollen tube will be, so before pollination there would be no pollen tube through. Yes beta, you see there is no pollen tube beta. Microphyll means after in the opening it will enter na beta, then only pollen tube formation and entering of the sperms will take place. Okay, so this is what I was discussing about. This was a very important point beta. So the fusion, after that the small opening called microphyll. Now inside the ovule, the pollen tube releases two male gametes into the embryo sac. So each pollen tube will be now, it will be two male gametes. It is exactly going to, I think I have discussed this part. I think when I was talking about anther, I think I have each anther, each pollen will be containing two male contents. I think I have discussed. Okay, one pollen grain na, it will be containing, one pollen grain will be containing two male gametes. I was reading your comment. Yes, one pollen grain will be containing two male gametes, not one beta. One pollen grain will be containing how many male gametes? One pollen grain will be containing two male gametes. But in human, one sperm means one only na, but here one pollen grain contains two male gamete. Did I explain it correctly? One pollen grain is containing how many male gametes, beta? Two male gamete. One pollen grain will be containing how many male gametes? Two male gametes. I repeat, one pollen grain will be containing two male gametes. I repeated it 3-4 times so that you can understand this. But you see here, more grains are exactly going inside. Fine. So the fusion of the male gamete, so one male gamete fuses with the egg. So since two male gamete is there, one pollen grain is containing two male gamete. Now one of the male gamete will fuse with the egg. Okay, so egg is there, so one of the male gamete will fuse with the egg. Then what the other male gamete will do? What the other male gamete will do? Then other male gamete, one polar nuclei will be present. So one male gamete is exactly going to, these are ovules and these are polar nuclei. So take this as polar nuclei, this is polar nuclei. So one male gamete is exactly going to fuse with the egg and the other male gamete is exactly going to fuse with the polar nuclei to make endosperms. What they are exactly going to make? Endosperm. So they are exactly going to make endosperm. This is a very important point and this is the basis of double fertilization. That's why beta it is called as double fertilization. In human na, sperm will enter and after that egg will not allow another sperm to enter na. So here what happens, one of the male gamete will enter into the egg. Okay, then another male gamete will enter into the polar nuclei beta. Another male gamete will enter where? It will enter into the polar nuclei. It will enter where? It will enter into the polar nuclei. You see here, this part is exactly called as polar nuclei. And here only when this polar nuclei will be exactly fused with the other male gamete, then only endosperm will be there. So now the seed, now this ovule and the one of the male gamete with ovule will be making the hard coat seed part, but the endosperm, the outer fruit section is there na, that will be formed by the polar nuclei. That will be formed by the polar nuclei, and this complete process is called as double fertilization. This complete process is called as double fertilization. Anything understood till here? Come on, quickly tell me beta. Anything understood till here? This is a very important part, and from here questions are coming in CBSE. What is double fertilization? Or they are asking a very straightforward question, how double fertilization occur. So first, one pollen grain contains two male gametes. One pollen grain is containing how many male gamete? It will be exactly Akshay. So whenever fertilization happens, it only double fertilization. Yes, and that's why beta last class Akshay I was talking about angiosperms and gymnosperms. So exactly, angiosperms are those fruit bearing plants. Their seeds are not naked and they always go for double fertilization. Yani understood? So angiosperms are always going for double fertilization. I hope my children might have understood. The one which is lacking double fertilization comes under gymnosperms. Then seeds are naked. That's why direct point I have said that which one is double fertilization, which one is not. So I just asked, again I am going to explain Vikavya. This is a very important point. Again and again I am going to explain beta, but you have to understand point by point. I want you to write in statement wise this content. So first important point, what you are going to write there beta? The first important point you are going to say that the pollen will be exactly stick to into the stigma section, then and one small opening will be there. What is the name of the small opening? Microphyll. Okay, from the microphyll pollen tube formation started, and chemotropically means chemical content will allow the pollen to directly start its journey in the pollen tube. Okay, each pollen will be having how many male gamete? Two male gamete. I discussed again and again. I am telling, a pollen grain produces two male gamete. One pollen grain is producing how many male gamete? Two male gamete. So just understand that because two main gamete is exactly going inside. So the pollen grain adhere the stigma which contain two cells, a generative cell and a tube cell. So definitely you see here the point which contains two cells, a generative cell and a tube cell. So they are exactly going to form one generative cell and tube cell. Next, the pollen tube cell grow into style, the generative cell travel inside the pollen tube, it divided into sperms. Now you see the pollen is exactly now divided into sperms. Now one will fuse with whom? The first one will be fusing with ovule, and the second one will be fusing with polar nuclei. The one will be fusing with whom? The one will be exactly fusing with the ovule, and that is exactly into the micropill will be opening. Micropill will be the small opening in this region, beta. Sorry, I just said micropill there, but micropill will be here. The micropill opening, I think I should show you the micropill opening. So here micropill opening, no, here micropill opening will be there because it is just ulta. This flower, now it is ulta. So microphyll opening will be here, from here only it is entering. Okay, this flower is just ulta, so only because most of the flower weight, I think I am having the picture, I can show you that microphyll region. Yes, this is the correct one to show you correctly. So this is the microphyll. Here exactly chemotrophically they will enter, they will form the tube, pollen tube, and you see generative nucleus will be exactly present inside. It will split, and beta, this is the embryo sac. Here one egg will be there and polar nuclei will be there. Here one egg will be there and polar nuclei will be there. And now beta, their structure was ulta na, so that opening section I said microphyll. Microphyll is 100% a small opening, but that opening will be from this side. Okay, that opening will be from this side, and this is exactly the microphyll opening, and from there only the tube will start forming and it will get filled here, and from here only one egg will fuse with the ovule and another with the polar nuclei, and it will form 3N, and this process is exactly called as single fertilization is possible, auntie. See, look here, this is exactly double fertilization. Single fertilization means you can go for gymnosperms, you can go for naked seeds, beta. See, single fertilization means gymnosperms. Double fertilization, most of the angiosperms are exactly going for double fertilization, and that is what, beta, the polar nuclei, because you see a very complete section of a flower, fruit, beta. When you see a complete section of a fruit, you see that inside the fruit seed section will be there, or in seeds will be there, and in that plum region will be there. That plum region is due to the endosperm. This plum region is due to the endosperm. Understood, beta? That's why in the previous class I was first discussing, thank you Kavya, that's why in the previous class my first focus was to let you understand what is angiosperm and gymnosperms. So now I think you will be able to do proper justification means ki auntie, when auntie, when we will be discussing about yes, I think I am having the entire content for you only. I have exactly brought Angiosperms and gymnosperms examples also I have collected, beta, so that when you will revise you will get the complete PDF. This PDF will directly go to you at the time of revision, so you only have to read this part, you don't have to go here and there, only final revision section you can see this all. So here see, angiosperms and gymnosperms are the two main categories of plant. Angiosperms are those known as flowering plant and having seeds enclosed within their fruit. Kavya, Akshaya, everyone enclosed within their fruits. Yaini, everyone remember this part. Shri Bhavni, remember this part. Whereas gymnosperms have no flower or fruit and have naked seeds on the surface of their leaves. And they have what, beta? They have naked seeds on the surface of their leaf. This is exactly one of the two examples of gymnosperms. By far the largest group of living gymnosperms are conifers, pines. Understood? And some examples of names of the seeds are there, so you can go through that. I hope till here everybody understood angiosperm and gymnosperm beta. Angiosperm and gymnosperms understood. So double fertilization, directly word should come auntie. Double fertilization means angiosperms auntie. Double fertilization means angiosperms auntie. Just one word and you are going to pick that. Okay, angiosperms will be there and one of the male gamete will fuse with the egg. The another male gamete will fuse with the polar nuclei. The another male gametes will fuse with whom? The polar nuclei. The one which will be exactly fusing with the egg will be forming the seed section. The polar nuclei which will be exactly fusing, it will be exactly going to make beta the fruit part of the fruit part. I hope now you have understood this point beta, and this is exactly called as double fertilization. Only microphyll, because the structure was ulta na, so only I got confused here. If it will be forming and joining with this partner, then microphyll region will be the small opening here. Okay, I hope you might have understood this one. So now beta, pollen tube will be penetrating and ovule, the moment it will be fusing with the ovule. So since it is ulta and it is not connecting from down, so microphyll region will be here. Okay. So now, does double fertilization occur in all plant? So your all answers I have compiled in one set itself. So you just have to see one section and you have to answer all the questions. This is called double fertilization because the true fertilization, fusion of sperm with an egg, is accompanied by another fusion process, that of sperm with the polar nuclei. That's why it is called as. So one sperm is fusing with egg, another sperm is fusing with polar nuclei. One sperm is fusing with which one beta? One sperm is fusing with egg, another sperm is fusing with polar nuclei. So that resembles fertilization. This process, double fertilization, occur only in angiosperms. I hope you might have understood. This is only occurring in angiosperm. Double fertilization only occurs in angiosperms. So I gave a complete data for you. One PDF is enough for you. You will see and you will be able to understand the entire content. So now double fertilization, you see beta what happens. The pollen tube will be containing the male gamete. Each male, one pollen is having two male gamete. One, you see, it is exactly cell is there, and this is central cell called containing polar nuclei. Yes, I am going to send all the important question. I am just waiting for the moment beta. These PDFs will be there, questions will be there, 2 mark, 3 mark. Right now you have not started. You have not started. You will cry because of me. Don't worry. I'll let you cry beta. But before examination, you will have 100% preparation. This is not the preparation what you are doing right now. This is just a 0 level preparation. So male nuclei is there. Now you see one egg and one fusion with the polar nuclei. So this is endosperm, that is precursor. This is endosperm formation and this is embryo precursor. So this is embryo part. This is embryo, seed. Embryo part is seed. The egg fusing with the gamete, seed. This is endosperm. This is seed. This is endosperm. This will take the outer part. This is seed part and this is endosperm part. Yes, everything. Kavya, don't worry. That's my responsibility. Everything already I have buyed. All the books are with me. All the books buyed, everything. One by one. I will not release all the sets at a time. No, because one problem is there, all the sets are getting transferred to other students. My students are not reading, other students are reading and finishing. So first, so what is exactly endosperm? What is endosperm? Okay, so the endosperm plays an important role in supporting embryonic growth by supplying nutrient, protecting the embryo and controlling embryo growth by acting as a mechanical barrier during seed development and germination. 100% the one outer coating, which is exactly, I want all my children to give the best result. So one by one, first you will finish one set Kavya, then I will give another set. Then you will finish one set, then I will give you another set. So interval by interval, you think why in fever I am standing and teaching. You think none of the students are exactly having that interest to study right now, but I am standing here and teaching. The reason is only one, I have to finish the syllabus and I have to give you important question. I have to take offline tests. So many tests I have already aligned, timetable also ready, but only one thing is there, first you will support, then only I can do anything. Right now I am not calling you offline, reason is only one, that I am not well. And COVID is very nicely spread here. So only. I don't want my children to get infected right now. Okay. So triploid endosperm. So you have seen one egg, and two polar nuclei, and then each polar nuclei got fused. So 2n and 1 egg, 3n. So total is coming how much? 3n, which nourishes the growing embryo. Thus inside embryo sac, as fertilization occurred twice, it is called as double fertilization. Since the inside sac fertilization is coming how many times? 2 times. That's why it is called as double fertilization. As fertilization, the ovule develop a tough coat and is gradually converted into seed. I told you na, the egg region will be exactly converting into seed. Now the ovary grow rapidly and ripen to form a fruit. Okay, so meanwhile the petal, sepal, stamen, style and stigma may shrivel and fall off. So other sections will fall off. So endosperm, I think you have understood what is the function of endosperm. The endosperm, in simple way I tried to tell you that the endosperm will take the region around the ovule to give a protection and mechanical barrier and to give a support to the seeds to grow nicely. Okay, so that is the most important part, beta. So now what longitudinal section of a pistil. So pollen germination from here now, previously in previous years now, germination from there one experiment was there, that is cotyledon, monocot and dicot. From that section always one question has been asked. In the previous question papers now, more questions were there. So they were asking questions related to germinations. In that they were asking about cotyledons. Means cotyledons will be, this is called as dicot. Dicot means two cotyledons. These cotyledon work is to provide nourishment to the growing plant. Okay, so the seed part will be there. This seed part will be exactly having two cots, means cotyledon. Only one single will be there, then it will be called as monocot. When two will be there, then it will be called as dicot. So now germination, so what happens, the seed contain the future plant or embryo, now which develop into seedling. So how you have to just put water into that. Now the cotyledon will be attached to two part, that is the future shoot and the future root. The future shoot is called as plumule and the future root is called as radicle. So radicle and plumule, it is exactly further divided into two sections, beta. One part is called as radicle, another part is called as plumule. So it is divided into two sections. One is called as radicle, another part is called as plumule. So longitudinal vision is exactly shown. Endosperms, one more time you see, the endosperms play an important role in supporting embryonic growth by supplying nutrient, protecting the embryo and controlling the embryo growth. Okay, I told you na, the plum region will be exactly growing from that. It will be helping for the fruit to exactly grow, and its main work is to protection. So till here double fertilization you have understood. And double fertilization, one very important point you have to write, and that important point is this point. So you should not forget this point, that the fusion of the male, this part, the zygote divides repeatedly by mitotic to form embryo. This part to already you know. The other male gamete fuses with two polar nuclei to form endosperm. This process is called as triple fusion and form the triple fusion of but finally it will be coming as double fusion, beta. Okay, three endosperms, it is exact to form endosperm, it is exactly going to fuse. So a triploid endosperm will be there, which nourishes the growing. Thus inside embryo sac, as fertilization occurred twice, so since fertilization inside the sac is, see, double nuclei is going to fuse, that is forming 3n, but since the fertilization occurred two times, one with the polar one with the egg, that's why the total process is called as okay, I'm going to send that one first, beta. Then it is exactly called as double fertilization. Now any doubt is there in this, so that auntie, what if two pollen enters? Beta, two pollen will enter, you know na, that the one which will be entering into the egg and the polar nuclei first will have always the priority, beta. The fusion will be exactly for the first one. Sometimes what happens now, two pollens will be sticked, and that the moment it will stick, then the pollen tube formation will be taking place. But the one which is chemotropically enter into the mesophyll, that micropill, the macropyll region na, and then enter into the egg, will be having the edge, and it will be exactly capable of fusing and forming, beta. It will be capable of fusing and forming. I hope you might have understood this part, beta. It will be capable of fusing and forming. I hope you have understood this point. Shall we go back to the next point, beta? Okay. So most of the queries are over or not. I really want you all to understand this part. I don't have like variation section, beta, this PDF I am going to send first today. One by one biology all PDF I have to send so that you can start revision before your first test. Your first test this month you will have tons of test. Don't worry, I'll make your life hell. So now most important thing is variation. So next just 5 minutes I am going to teach variations. Today construction video I am going to send in maths. Now what is the meaning of variation? If somebody will be asking you what is the meaning of variation, then what answer you are going to give? What does variation actually means? Beta, what does variation actually means for you? If somebody will be telling variation is there, so now just first by seeing the different shape of the cells, by seeing the cells, can we see that it got variated? By seeing the different beaks, can we say that there is a variation? By seeing the different type of human, can we say that there is variation? Can we say that there is variation? Okay, so what does variations means, and from where these variations are coming? From where these variations are coming? If somebody will be talking about variations, then how these variations are exactly coming? Aunty, construction of offline would be better, and construction offline will be better, beta, but the thing here is I am making like class 9th construction is available in YouTube. I have constructed class 9th videos, and can you see that one time I have explained and I have written the steps of construction there. So one time one side construction is there, another type steps of construction there, and I have already warned which section you have to write what. So once it will be like in before examination, you will just have to see one time. It's 5 minute, 10 15 minutes video. So once you will see, again you will recall. For that only I have made that constructions. Construction right directly test will be there. That time one revision session when I am going to take, that time to offline revision will be there. But that I don't want to waste the time right now. I want you all to finish the content one time itself. Just go through that class 9th construction. One time you see how I have done. I have explained everything there. Okay, Kavya, I did my work, bit. I did my work. You just check one time. I'll not give you, I'll not create problem for you. So now just answer my question. Answer my question. Where is variation? What does variation means for you? What does variation means for you? Right now, all of you are exactly very much tired and very much like sleeping. Everyone, I have to awake you all. One time beating na means everyone will awake. So what does variation means right now? What does variation means? If somebody will be telling you variation, what does variation means? Okay, I only have to explain what is variation. Very good. Variation creates better survival, we can say like that, Kavya. But variation means change in the genetic characters from the parent to the offspring. Whatever characters are there, they are not going to be the duplicate one as their parent. So selection of different character taken by the, because selection of different character will be there, changes, Shiva. Yeah, changes we can say, changes we can say. So variation is exactly what, although, so if somebody will be asking again and again that what is variation, what is variation, then you will be saying that difference in genetic character will be exactly, or changes will be called as, in some way changes in genetic character is exactly called as variations. Absolutely. And variation brings survival chances. Variation brings survival chances. That is also one of a very important point. Okay, so in next class we are going to talk about variation, because I think I have to first give nice treatment to all of them. I was about to teach somatic and generative cells, everything, most important class it was about to be, but everyone is sleeping. I'll talk to them first. They are interested to learn or not, then only I'll start next class. Changes in characteristics, yes beta, yani it's absolutely correct. Changes in characteristics is variation. Start preparing reproduction. Your first offline test will be reproduction plus carbon in its compound. Before your class test, I am going to tell you production and carbon in its compound. Total test will be 80 marks. Get ready.